What's up, everybody? Forge in the Barrens is almost live, and you know what that means. It's time for another wild Theorycraft video. What I have for you guys today are 51 wild Theorycrafted decks across all 10 classes and all different types of competitive inclination that I have built that are either new or upgraded with Forge in the Barrens or the brand new core set that's coming at the same time. As all 10 classes are in the same video this time, I've divided up the video per class with timestamps, so you guys can jump around to whatever class you're interested in the most. Fair warning, I have built the majority of these decks in the past 2 days, so I know that I've probably missed some great synergies or inclusions in these decks, and so if you see something that I missed, please let me know down in the comments below. So now before we hop into the decks, just a reminder that if you'd like to see the decks, played and refined live on stream, you guys can check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/getmeout. And as soon as I'm happy with a list on stream, I do update the deck list section on my Discord. So if you want updated decks, in real time, the link to that Discord is down below in the description. Make sure you guys join that. And of course, the highlights of the best decks and the best games eventually make their way over here to YouTube. So make sure you guys drop a subscription and hit that little notification bell so that you know when those go live. Alright, enough talking. Let's get into my 51 wild Theorycrafted decks for Forge in the Barrens. Alright, so starting off with Demon Hunter. Unfortunately, Demon Hunter is still kind of restricted by the fact that it relies on Baku in our format. So what I have for you guys today are two different types of Demon Hunter though. Two very distinct playstyles as well. So the first one is going to be your very traditional super one-drop heavy aggro Demon Hunter. This deck is getting a couple of new toys, right? We have the Leopardome and the Arcane Golems and the Albatrosses that have been unnerved, but we're also getting a couple new toys with Forge in the Barrens, with Tuskfiercer, a 1-mana 1/2 weapon, that draws you your Death Rattles, draws you your Bird, draws you your Leopardomes, and the new Gnarg Glavesmith, a 3-mana 3/2. Give your hero +3 attack this turn if it's outcasted. Your curve is super low. You should always be able to get this outcasted. So 3-mana 3/2, give your hero +3 attack seems kind of broken. And the other Demon Hunter list I have for you is a little bit slower, trying to take advantage of the new Death Speaker Blackthorn. So this is the legendary 7-mana 3/6 that summons Death Rattles from your deck. And so of course we're a little bit chunkier on our Death Rattles because we want to be getting a ton of value out of those. Out of that battle cry, so we're pulling Stalag and Fugan because unfortunately there's not many better Death Rattles to be running. We have Burning Blade Acolyte. This is a new card from Forge in the Barrens. It's a 5-mana 1/1 Death Rattle summon a 7/8. And then of course we have our good old Bird. We're also taking advantage of the brand new weapon, the 1-mana 1/2, draw a Death Rattle from your deck. Drawing cards still gonna be good even though we have the Blackthorn battle cry. Alright, moving into Druid. So some of the biggest type around Druid involves a measly common 5/10 taunt. So all of your decks, right, Jade, Mali, whatever decks that run Oaken Summons, just replace the 3/9 with the 5/10 taunt, and you've already updated the list with Forge in the Barrens. But the thing that's making the second amount of noise, the second most noise, is Celestial Alignment. So Celestial Alignment sets everybody to 0 and makes all your cards cost 1. And so when your Giants cost 1, they are very, very easily discounted to 0. So this is kind of the second coming of, Giants Druid, Nagalok, and Giants never been an issue before, right? Never, totally not. So time will tell if this deck will be any good. I think this is maybe being hyped as the new degenerate thing. I'm not 100% certain, but both have in combination with Giants is kind of dumb, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Another deck that I'm kind of excited to try out with Celestial Alignment is instead of doing the degenerate Giants thing, let's do some degenerate Guardian Animals and Survival of the Fittest. So the idea behind this deck is you play Celestial Alignment, and then the next turn you play Malagos to draw all the spells from your deck. And then using a combination of Lightning Blooms and Biology Projects, you'll get a little bit of mana. You'll play 1-mana Survival of the Fittest. You'll play Guardian Animals for 1 mana. You'll do some dumb things. Make a board state that your opponent can't answer because, they don't have any mana. And then you're good to go. This is probably the degenerate route that I'll be taking instead of Giants, but who knows what deck is going to be better, or if either of the decks are going to be good at all. And then of course we have to talk about some Token Druids. I love me some Token Druids. So what I have for you guys are two different versions of Token Druids. So the first one is an Oaken Summons package because the 5/10 taunt is kind of stupid. But yeah, it's just basically a more anti-aggressive version of Token Druid. And the other one involves the new legendary Guff Rune Totem. So this one, every time you cast a nature spell, you give a minion +2/+2. Basically, every spell in your deck is already a nature spell because, it's Druid, and every spell in Druid is a nature spell. So, this takes advantage of Guff and it just makes your boards not only wide, but also tall. It makes it really, 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 really annoying for your opponents to have to deal with. And then to wrap it up in Druid, we've got a couple of, memeier lists. I say memey, but they actually don't look that bad. So the first one is Taunt Druid. The Taunt Druid getting a couple of nice buffs here. So the first one, Druid of the Plains, is a 7-mana 7/6 with Rush. Whenever you attack and proc Frenzy, it becomes a 6/7 with Taunt. So not only it's a removal, but also a big butt on a Taunt. And then we also have Living Seeds. So basically what this does is the tutor for the beasts in your deck. You only run 3 of them for the 2 tutors. One of them is Druid of the Plains. The other one is your all-important Hadronox. So yeah, excited to see, if the ability to tutor some of the strongest cards in your deck will actually make the deck a lot more consistent and potentially viable. And the other one's a little bit of a, I don't want to say memey take on Aggro Druid, but there's a new card called Razormane Battleguard. It's a 2-mana 2/3. The first taunt minion you play each turn costs 2 less. So the idea behind this deck is obviously you want the Ambiggins in your opening hand, but the big idea is you'll play a Razormane Battleguard, and you'll just cheat out taunts, right? Like a Wax Elemental or a Target Dummy or an Annoyatron, and hide the Razormane Battleguard, and you just get kind of the ability to play 2 or 3 kind of overstated taunts because of the Ambiggin effect that you've had, and you play Aggro Druid that way. It's a very, very different take, but the mana cheat with Razormane Battleguard is kind of insane, and so excited to try out a little bit of a different take and change things up a little bit when it comes to Aggro Druid. Alright, moving into Hunter. So Beast Hunter has been talked about a lot for good reason because of Starving Buzzard. Beast Hunter getting just a little bit of an upgrade with Sunscale Raptor coming in and replacing Diremole. Just a little bit more longevity. It doesn't really solve the big issues of the deck, but it is a nice little upgrade over Diremole. The next deck that I want to talk about is Quest Hunter. So this deck is super spicy. Absolutely love it. The big idea behind this deck is Warsong Wrangler. So it's a 4-mana 3/4. Discover a beast in your deck. Give them +2/+1 wherever they are. So essentially the idea is you complete the quest with all your good old 1-drops. You play Queen Carnassus, shuffling a bunch of 15. You shuffle in 15 3/2s, and then you buff them all with Shando or Warsong Wrangler, and then you play Buzzard and cycle through your entire deck and do stupid things. So I'm actually really, really excited to play this. This is, I think, 100% going to be worse than the regular Beast Hunter. But the fact that Marsh Queen looks more and more viable with each passing expansion is kind of exciting. And of course, this is going to be my next take at the deck. All right, the next deck is Tonk Hunter. Of course, I had to do it here. Tonk. The big addition to this deck is Barrick Codobane. The ability to tutor 3 spells out of your deck is extremely important for this deck. So you have, a bunch of 1-drops, and then you have 2 specific 2-drops. So the Explosive Trap to help you against aggro and Feigned Death for your, post-Tonk combo turns, and then of course 9 lives, a great card in this list. So just giving Tonk more consistency and more draw seems good. And Tonk was already like a pseudo-competitive deck, It was on the line. It was bordering the line between competitive and meme. And so giving the deck draw makes it a lot better. Yeah, so next up is a little bit of a more aggressive take of Death Rattle Hunter. So using some of these unnerfed cards right before Forge in the Barrens. Taking advantage of Undertaker, Lepronome, and all of the Death Rattle synergy within the class, especially with Albatross to help you in one of your worst matchups when it comes to Reno Priest. So tons of Hunter decks for you guys. I've got 3 more. The next one is a Secret Hunter, taking advantage of Buzzard and that Beast package to help you draw through your entire deck. Again, this is a very, very aggressive Beast Hunter build. I do want to find a way to fit a kill command somewhere in this deck just for a little bit of reach. It's just your normal Secret Hunter, but then you have the Buzzard, Alley Cat, Wolpertinger, Springpaw kind of draw engine that is so powerful in Beast Hunter currently. And you're merging that with some of the impressive mana cheating with Huntress, Scientist, and Petting Zoo. So excited to see how this hybrid Hunter fares. So next up we have Even Hunter. So Even Hunter was benefiting a little bit from the unnerfs with Frenzied Fellwing. But we're also getting a new toy in Oasis Thrasher from the new expansion from Forged in the Barrens. So Oasis Thrasher is a 2-mana 2/3 beast. Yeah, just a plain old river croc, except for if it survives damage and gets Frenzy procced, it deals 3. It's a quick shot on a body. It's pretty damn impressive. I think Even Hunter has a legitimate chance. The Frenzied Fellwing is already an insanely powerful addition to the deck. Very, very easy to get super cheap. And I think more 2-drops that are threats, like more 2-drops that you are happy playing on 2 with this deck, the better. So excited to see how Oasis Thrasher fares in this deck. And last but not least, we will go from even to odd Hunter with the unnerfed Undertakers, buffed Leper Gnomes, buffed Toxic Reinforcements, the buffed Arcane Golem. I mean, this one does nothing but hit face. The one new card in this deck is the brand new Power Crept on the Hunt. And so all it does is it deals 1 and gives you a 1/1 with Rush. Just gives you a little bit of board control, which is all Odd Hunter really, really wants, because once you fall behind board as an Odd Hunter, it is very, 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 very difficult to come back. And Wound Prey, helps alleviate that and prevents you from falling behind. Alright, moving into Mage. So the big thing that Mage got were some hero power synergies. So of course, the first deck I had to build was some Even Mage, taking advantage of stuff like Wildfire and Varden and Reckless Apprentice. Ultimately trying to get to the late game with Mordresh Fire Eye. I mean, this is all about Inspire synergies. It's all about memes. This is the one that I'm maybe the most excited to try out, so of course I had to talk about it first. But excited to mess around with some of the hero power stuff in Mage. Next up is a shout out to Corbett. So he's named this deck Miracle Mage, so that's what we're going to go with. But yeah, I mean, the idea behind this deck is play Enchantress Flow, draw a bunch of cheap stuff, and then pop the F off with Luna or Sorks and Flamemakers, and draw through your entire deck and play your entire deck as early as like turn 4, turn 5. This deck, when it does things, is absolutely disgusting. And Refreshing Springwater, one of the best cards, if not the best card that Mage got from this expansion, is just a beautiful, perfect fit in this deck that only has 5 minions to begin with. I'm kind of scared of this deck becoming a real thing. Do not play this deck if you have bad APM or are playing on mobile. I'm warning you now. And I'm only going to talk about this deck for a little bit because I know some people are going to hate me for putting it in here. But this is the upgraded Secret Mage. This is involving the new secret Oasis Ally that summons a water elite when a minion is hit. I think Oasis Ally is a tech secret, very similar vein to Ice Block or Flame Ward. So obviously I think this card can come in and out of Secret Mage lists depending on what the metagame ends up looking like. Right now I think if there's a decrease in the amount of Kingsbane and Odd Rogues and Pirate Warriors because of Nitro Boost Poison, you probably don't want the Oasis Ally, but I think the Oasis Ally is a great tech card, right? It's a deck, depending on the metagame that you're in, can go in and out with stuff like Flame Ward and Ice Block. But yeah, I think the cut definitely is the Occult Conjurer there. Alright, so next up is probably the memeiest deck that I have made, but it is Reno Hero Power Mage. I mean, it's basically trying to combine the Mordresh Fire Eye with the Janel Eye and take advantage of both even and odd cards. And then the best way to do that in a deck in Wild is to just run the broken yellow cards like Reno and Kazakus and Zeph, so that you don't die and get the ability to pull off the stupid, cool, powerful thing that you're trying to do. So that's exactly what this deck has done. Alright, and I'm sorry for you guys that are competitively inclined because I'm talking about a lot of memes. The last one is another version of Even Mage. This one, instead of being fully Inspire focused, we're going a little bit of a different route. We're going even spell damage Mage, and the whole reason behind this is, Wildfire upgrading your hero powers is a decent amount of burn, but if you can get this Dalaran Aspirant to stick and ramp up the spell damage in combination with stuff like Imprisoned Phoenix, you can draw through your deck, you can do some dumb amounts of damage, and it allows you to have this Mordresh Fire Eye as sort of a finisher, right? Like it's a Pyroblast that also clears the board. So I'm excited to try this one out. Honestly, I can't tell which one's better, or if they're both terrible. It's probably the latter, but between this and the regular Inspire Even Mage. But the hero power stuff is super exciting, and I'm excited to try it out. And last but not least, here we go. I told you guys, back to competitive. We had the Secret Mage. This is the one that I'm really, really hoping ends up being competitive. This is Reno Dragon Luna's Pocket Galaxy Mage, or Reno LPG Mage. So a couple of big buffs here from the new expansion. We're getting Varden Dawngrasp. They're just a great, great card in this deck. It's a Frost Nova on a stick. Basically any removal on a stick in this deck is great. We have the unnerfed Dragon Casters and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza's, which is exciting. And we also have the brand new Alexstrasza, so we get to run 3 different Alexstrasza's now. But Alexstrasza, the Lifebounder, allows you to do... we did Cloud Prince loops before the new Alex Reza. Now we just get to go Bran Alex for 16 damage. And if we're, really feeling spicy, we can do Bran 9-mana Alex that sets him to 15. And then the other Alex that, just kills him. So straight up. So it just gives the deck a little bit more reach while making the dragon cards more, consistent. All right, moving into Paladin. So Paladin, the first one I want to talk about is Libram Paladin. So Libram Paladin getting a couple of great cards. So while we don't get to run Call to Arms, we get Knight of Anointment. So this is a 1-mana 1/1 tutor a holy spell from your deck. So all of your Librams plus Hand of a Doll. And then we get Cariel Roam. This is the 4-mana 4/3 that discounts all of your Librams. So basically what this deck allows you to do now is you get to cut all the fancy crap, like Idis Darkbane, because it makes your draws so much more consistent, and it makes your discounts so much more consistent, which means that you can constantly be putting on pressure, and you constantly have access to Broomstick and Penflinger. I am really excited. If you know me, if you know my channel, you guys know that I like this deck, and that I like it in Wild, and so I'm excited to see how the new toys, spice up the deck and make it, potentially better. And to wrap out the Paladin section, I've got a bunch of Call to Arms decks for you guys, because believe it or not, Call to Arms is busted. So the first one I will talk to you guys about is Even Dude Paladins. So basically taking advantage of Call to Arms to cheat out a bunch of cheap dude stuff, right? With Knife Juggler, Soldier's Caravan, and Dry Gulch Jailer. Say that 5 times fast is really hard. And basically use Call to Arms to cheat out a bunch of dudes and use Keeper plus Stegodon plus Balloon Merchant and tear them and level up to snowball the board to victory. Yes, it's a very simple strategy. Take advantage of dudes, hit your opponent in the face, keep control of the board, refill the board if the opponent clears it. Even Dude Paladin looking pretty damn strong. The next Call to Arms deck that I want to talk about is Secret Paladin. So Secret Paladin, probably the deck getting the most love. Basically, the deck revolves around the new Secret from the Core Set Reckoning, and Sword of the Fallen. It's the brand new 2-drop weapon that basically replaces Mysterious Challenger, which is kind of disgusting, the fact that we just power grab Mysterious Challenger and Muster for Battle with one weapon. And then the new card I want to talk about is Crossroads Gossiper. So this is kind of in the neutral dump of cards that nobody really pays attention to. But it's a 3-mana 4/3 that whenever a secret is triggered, or a secret is revealed, you get +2/+2. So this becomes very easily a 3-mana 6/4 because you have the sword set up on turn 2. A 3-mana 6/4 is a pretty strong-ass card. It's so good. The other new cards in this deck, Northwatch Commanders, this is a 3-mana 3/4 if you control a secret, draw a card. Right? So again, very great synergy with Sword of the Fallen on turn 2. And then we have Cannon Master Smithy at the top. And so basically what Cannon Master Smithy does is if the secrets aren't getting there, it basically is a living mana-esque effect where you make a board out of your secrets. The secrets aren't putting on any pressure against Arena Lock, for example. Then you use the Cannon Master Smithy to make a board to hit your opponent in the face. Super excited for Secret Paladin, getting a ton of toys. Looks really strong. Complete revamp of the class. And then another deck that I'm super excited to try out is Handbuff Paladin. So Handbuff Paladin got Serenite Chain Gang back, but we're also getting a couple brand new legendaries. In Blademaster Somero, it's a card when handbuffed basically is a one-sided AoE, right? And we know how those are strong. Flak Mage. And then we have Overload Runthak. So it's a 5-mana 3/6 with Rush. Every time it attacks, it buffs your hand. So I think the top end of this deck is a little bit, able to be changed out. I'm running Double Chillblade because I like charge. I know some people are running Ziliaxes or Leroy's or some weapons. So again, I am not a huge handbuff player. I will become a huge handbuff player, but I do not know what is optimal right now. This is just my current version of the build. The next Paladin deck is another Call to Arms deck, taking advantage of some of the new neutral Murlocs, specifically Lushwater Scouts. This is a 2-mana 1/3 whenever you summon a minion with Murloc, like off of Call to Arms or a Mermy, you give them +1 attack and rush, like a Magic Carpet. So it's strong with Crab Riders and Call to Arms and Murkai. It's pretty damn powerful. We're running Rally as pseudo refill, because we don't have the ability to refill, kind of like Murloc Shaman has the ability to. Yeah, so this is my take on the aggressive Murloc builds. I think with Allura being nerfed, the Tip the Scales version of the deck is just even more inconsistent. I mean, yeah, it can blow people out when you hit the Prismatic Lens, but I think this is just going to be a straight up overall more consistent Murloc Paladin deck. And last but not least, we have some good old aggro Paladin. This is the deck that Jonah Raw has hit top 25 legend on with just a few adjustments. The main one being Conviction. So this is, early game Blessing of Might, later game it's +6 attack for 1 mana. And if you somehow, some way get to the late game and it's still relevant, it's 1 mana for +9 attack, which is kind of insane. So yeah, this is just good old Aggro Paladin. Again, dude, Call to Arms has made so many Paladin decks viable. It's amazing. So yeah, Aggro Paladin back on the menu. Alright, moving into Priest. Priest got completely shafted. I'm not going to lie to you, it got completely shafted this expansion. So most of the decks that I'm going to be talking about involve some of the new core set cards. So let's start off with Rena Priest. Okay, Rena Priest has 1 new card. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. It gets Thrive in the Shadows. A second Shadow Visions, if not better Shadow Visions for Rena Priest. Of course it's good. Of course it's going to be good. Rena Priest probably going to be good. Let's move on to the next deck. Let's talk about Big Priest. Again, not going to spend too much time here because the only brand new card is Thrive in the Shadows. Are you guys sensing a theme here? Thrive in the Shadows is pretty good. It's very comparable to Shadow Visions. Shadow Visions is one of the best cards in Priest. Yeah? Alright, let's stop staring at Big Priest. The next deck that I want to talk about is kind of my take on a Death and Taxes, style of deck in Hearthstone. The Watch Post. I'm very interested to see how the Watch Post does. And so this is Weasel/Birds with Watch Posts and Web Lords. It's just like you annoy the hell out of your opponent so that they just can't do what they want to do while you draw through your deck, while you do dumb things, and then you King Togwaggle Murazon so your opponent doesn't get to play the game. So yeah, this seems like a really, 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 really annoying deck to play against. Your win con for this style of deck can alter. I am running the Togwaggle Murazon, but you can run like Anduin or you can run Benny. Whatever way you want to, put your opponent through the pain, feel free to do whatever you want. And the next priest deck is a Mind Blast Priest. So Mind Blast Priest was a deck that I've been playing towards the end of Dark Moon Races that takes advantage of Rally in combination with the Northshire, Cleric, Pyromancer, Acolyte of Pain kind of draw engine. And so the new additions to this deck, we're going to be trying out Xyrella because we run that Circle of Healing package. And so in a pinch, we can do stuff like Circle of Healing or Renew Our Face and play Xyrella for a pinch board clear. And we also get Power Word Shield back. Power Word Shield is just kind of insane in the Cleric, Pyromancer, Acolyte style of draw decks. So of course, Power Word Shield is great in this deck. And we also get Thrive in the Shadows. Again, stop me if you heard this before. Thrive in the Shadows might be a good card. Alright, next up is probably the priest deck that I'm the most excited to play. We got Aggro Priest, man. Aggro Priest, Aggro Burn Priest, whatever you want to call it. It's Undertaker Priest. You get Leper Gnomes, Undertakers, Thrive in the Shadows, a brand new card, Shadowed Spirit. It's a 3-mana 4/3. When it dies, deal 3 to the opponent's hero. We get Unnerved Albatross. They all come back off a Rally. Dude, I really, really hope this deck is good because it's sick. I really like the look of it. Shadow Priest or Mind Blast Priest or Aggro Priest or Burn Priest. If the deck is good, I'll coin whatever word suits the deck best. But I'm excited to try this one out. I'm ready to cheese some victories with Aggro Priest. And last but not least, we can't have Power Word Shield get unnerfed and not talk about Inner Fire. And so this is kind of the very standard, Inner Fire list that's been running around for the last little bit. It's never been that great. We're trying out Xyrella as a way to come back into the game. Very similar to what I was just talking about in that Mind Blast list with Circle of Healing. You get the ability to potentially, cheese out a board clear in the early game. I guess it's not really cheesing. I shouldn't say that, but get a board clear on turn 4, turn 5. Get yourself back from falling behind. And then use Thrive in the Shadows and Shadow Visions and Power Word Shield to churn through your deck to set up that good old Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo kill. Alright, moving into Rogue. So Rogue always gets these things where some of the cards are really, really good. Some of the cards seem really obnoxious. And it's really, really hard to tell which ones are which. And so when we saw this new card, Paralytic Poison, people floated around the idea of a Mill Kingsbane list. No, don't get me wrong, Mill Rogue was always garbage, always has been garbage, always, I really, really do hope, will always be garbage. But with the unnerves of Blade Flurry, the inclusion of Paralytic Poison, I wanted to try out a Mill Kingsbane list, and I hate to say it, it doesn't look terrible. Like, it doesn't look terrible. So the idea is to use the paralytic poisons and envenom weapons alongside blade flurries and deadly poison to keep the board under control in combinations with evasions and cloak of shadows, while you set up that Valera Colite Oracle gang up, win con against the slow decks that you're hopefully aiming to beat. A rogue deck that I am really excited to try out, and a deck that I really hope becomes meta. This is Miracle Rogues. This one, again, another deck inspired by Corbett. So you have 3 copies of Edwin. You've got Edwin and 2 Biteweeds. And then you have a bunch of ways to cheat mana and play billions of cards in one turn and draw through your deck with the brand new Field Contact. It's really funny that Corbett builds these decks, because Corbett has some of the most boomer APM. Shots fired. Please tag him in this. No, but I mean, this is just Miracle Rogue in 2021. You don't even have to play Classic. You can play Wild, play a million cards, play an Edwin, play a Biteweed, do some dumb things. Good luck, friends. Do not play this deck on mobile. And then another deck that is close and dear to my heart. This is the new updated Pillager Rogue. So the main new inclusion in this deck is Field Contact. So Field Contact draws you a card every time you play a Battlecry or combo card. And we're lucky that our deck is full of those cards. And so, yeah, draw through the deck in a combo deck. Set up your Skulker Pillager combo. This is another deck that requires a 10 APM. Another deck that I recommend you don't play on mobile if you are a mobile gamer. But this deck is a ton of fun. Expect some highlights of this deck soon. And last but not least, for Rogue, we had to talk about Quest Rogue again. So Quest Rogue has been around for a couple of days now. It's been around. People have hated it. People have loved it. People have also realized that it's not that great of a deck. But I did want to just include it here because it is still kind of new, right? We haven't had it in Wild for a very, very long time. The unnerfs were the big thing that hit this deck and made it viable. And so, while I don't love playing against Quest Rogue, I'm happy it's there for people who want it, because it's not that powerful of a deck and won't be super oppressive. It's very similar to something like Mill Rogue, where there are people that absolutely love it, and there are probably people out there that absolutely love Quest Rogue. And so, all power to you. I'm happy it's there for you. Just don't queue into me, yeah? Okay. All right, moving into Shaman. So Shaman got some great Murlocs, some great Elementals, and this great little package of Firemancer Flurgle and Toxin in combination with Ice Fishing. So I'm playing that and playing some Murlocs and playing some Elementals in every deck that I absolutely can. So the first deck I have for you guys is updated Galakron Shaman. So this is a combination of cards from the unnerfs as well as some of the new stuff. Using a Spirit of the Frog draw engine. Lightning Blooms are your 0-cost cards. The Invocation of Frost, your 1s. The Ice Fishing, your 2s that draw you your Murlocs. Serpent Shrine Portal, your 3s, and Torrents, your 4s. So yeah, I mean, this deck, the Spirit of the Frog, can be a little bit awkward in the early game, and that's the best way I can describe that. But if you can get to the late game, you can do some dumb things with Shadowwalk and Galakron. I think this is a pretty okay anti-aggressive deck. It's going to get outclassed by stuff like Big Priest, but has a chance. It's fast enough to beat stuff like Rainer Priest and Rena Lock. And has a chance against a lot of other decks as well. And then, of course, with the 10 new Murlocs that got printed for Shaman, we have to, revisit and retouch Murloc Shaman. So taking a look at this list, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 new cards in this deck. It's such an insane amount of brand new cards for Murloc Shaman. We cut a 2-mana 4/3 from this deck, guys. There is a neutral 2-mana 4/3 Murloc, and we cut it because it's not good enough, because we have things that are just even more broken, which is insane. I don't know how, but it's insane that we do. I mean, you have recovery, right, with Flurgle and Toxins and just more Murlocs. You have the ability to refill your hand with Underbelly Angler. And then once you stick a board that you can snowball with Nothing Can Stop Us, and everything is awesome. This deck actually looks legitimate. This deck looks so good. I'm excited to see this deck potentially be back in Tier 1. It was not that long ago that this deck was a Tier 1, Tier 2 deck. And then it just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And now it's getting 9 new cards. Potentially 11 if you want to shove the 2-mana 4/3 in here. This deck looks really, 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 really good. And probably going to be one of the first decks that I'm trying on Expansion Day. And then another deck that I'm going to mess around with is this is one that's much more memey. But with all the new Elementals being introduced, I had to build some Elemental Shaman. So this deck revolves around surviving the early game, drawing through your deck. Right, you have Glacial Shards and Kindling Elementals, and you have obviously the Flurgle Toxin stuff. You have Sandstorm Elementals, you have Arid Stormers, you have Gyre Worms. You can survive the early game. And then the idea is you complete your quest, get to the late game, and then your late game involves Hero Power Fire Elemental's face, Hero Power Blaze Caller's face, Hero Power Kalimos' face. If any of them stick on the board after you've hit them in the face, you can grumble them back to your hand and do it again. So in the late game, it turns into a burn deck, but the elementals are also very, very good at controlling the board as well, which is kind of insane. So excited to see how this one tries out. It's kind of crazy in theory, but you know, elementals aren't that far off, and I'm excited to see if now with the inclusion of Arid Stormers and Lily Pads and Kindlings, are they good enough? I'm excited to see. The next deck that I want to try out involves the new legendary Brukan, which gives your nature spells plus 3 spell damage. So it basically makes your lightning bolts into 1-mana fireballs and your crackles into 2-mana. I mean, nothing really deals 9 damage, but it turns them into 2-mana and deal 9s. They're kind of insane. And then you get the brand new card Novice Zapper. Novice Zapper is like actually just broken, guys. Like Novice Zapper is such a good card. We're not talking enough about this card from the core set. It's broken. And then, of course, you have, like, Cage Match Custodian Lickums, you have Tunnel Trogs into Totem Golems, you have the Thunderheads and Vicinas if you want to play a little bit more for board, like if you're playing against one of those Call to Arm Paladins, Thunderhead and Vicinas are probably going to be your line of play. We also have Landslide since we have so much Overload. Again, alongside Murloc Shaman, this is the deck that I might be the most excited to try because it actually looks really, really coherent, right? It's got a lot of board control in the early game. It has the ability to snowball super hard. It has the ability to recover potentially. And you have so much damage over the top with Lightning Bolts, Crackles, and Serpent Strike Portals in combination with Brukan. Excited to try out some good old aggro Shaman. And then, this wouldn't be a Shaman, theory crafting stream if I wasn't trying to revisit Shudderwock Shaman and try out, a new build of the deck. So the main inclusions here, we get unnerfed Serenite Chain Gang. We have the Firemancer Flurgle, Toxin, Ice Fishing stuff. In combination with the Quest and Sledge Slurpers. But the big new addition is Talon Ford Ring. So Talon Ford Ring will find you your Shudderwocks. It'll find you the Grumble. It'll find you the Polekelts. Right? These are like the super core important cards to your deck to help you set up for that combo kill with Life Drinkers and Loathebs. So yeah, I mean, this deck still lacking a little bit of draw. We're running double Farsight, the double Ice Fishing, the double Ancestral Knowledge. I just really wish we had better draw options, like straight up, like if there was an Arcane Intellect in Shaman, I would be playing it in pretty much every Shaman deck that could. But yeah, I'm excited to see if Talon and Serenite Chain Gang coming back help the deck, in its consistency issues, and potentially become a player back in the metagame. All right, so moving into Warlock, just like Priest, Warlock got some pretty garbage cards this expansion. And so a lot of the cards that I'm going to be talking about that are being included in updating list are from the core set primarily. And so the first one I want to talk about is Discard Warlock. So Discard Warlock getting Lakari Fellhound. So this is still a 4-mana 3/8, but it now guaranteed discards your 2 lowest cost cards instead of just random 2. And so you can kind of always try to hit your Bone Webs or your Golems or your useless 1-drops that you're not using. And so it also gives the deck another defensive taunt against aggro to help kind of control where the combat damage is going. And so excited for a new kind of small, very slight improvement to Discard Warlock, a tier 2 deck already in the metagame. The next deck is Darkglare Warlock. Yes, I'm talking about Darkglare Warlock, but I do want to try out Tamsin Rome. She's the one who, if you play a shadow spell that costs 1 or more, you get a copy that costs 0. I know a lot of people are talking about it potentially just being not necessary, but I do want to try it out. Just the ability to copy Drain Souls and Power Overwhelmings if needed, or Solarium seems fine, and just copying Drain Souls against aggro seems not terrible. And then, like, of course, against something like Greener Priest, you always have the Tamsin Arcane Golem plus 4 Power Overwhelming out. I don't know if she's good. She's probably not, but I'm going to be trying her out on the list because, why not? Darkly Warlock is, by far and away the best deck in the format. Why not try something new for the sake of new things? Alright, Q-Block. So this is a deck that's getting, the Burbs back to 3 mana. And getting Drain Soul as, healing 3. So, again, no new cards, but some significant upgrades from the core set plus the unnerfs. Q-Block is a deck that I've been playing probably the most since the unnerfs in the past couple of days, and it has felt very, 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 very good. Seems like a very, very strong deck again, now that it has the birds back. And so last but not least for Warlock, Galakron Warlock got Fiendish Rites unnerfed. In addition to Fiendish Rites, it's getting Undertaker unnerfed. It's weird to say that because Undertaker was never really played, obviously, because it was nerfed. But I wanted to try out an Undertaker, Death Rattle, Galakron Zooey build. And you guys might laugh at me, but Galakron Zoo was actually a legitimate deck before it got nerfed in Wild. It was like a tier 2, tier 3 deck. And so I'm hoping with combining Undertaker and the eggs with stuff like Possessed Villager and the 1/1s that, and of course the new Broomstick that came out, and then combine it with the Broken Void Caller cards, you might have a making of a pretty significant, not terrible, like tier 2, tier 3 deck that could be viable and could be played and could have some place and some benefits in the metagame. Alright, let's move on to our last class. Let's talk about some Warrior. So Pirate Warrior getting a little bit of a revamp because you're losing Nitro Boost Poison, you're losing Cutting Class, but we're getting the new Outrider's Axe to replace the card draw, and you're getting Bloodsail Deckhand to help discount the weapons that draw you cards like Ankar and the Axe. And then you're also getting a new card from the core set, Fogsail Freebooter. If you have a weapon equipped, it is a 2-mana 2/2 deal 2, so you can use it to clear the board, fight for board against aggro, or it can also just hit face, because, why not? So excited to try this out. Your top end can vary, right? If you don't want Greenskin and Crags, you can run the Skyfin Fans. You can run Corcorons if you want to instead of those. I like the little bit of beefiness on the top end. The Crag is never costing you more than like 3 or 4, unless you're in a really, 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 really crappy spot. But yeah, Pirate Warrior looks good. We lose the Nitro Boost, and it does hurt, but the Outrider's Axe looks absolutely insane. Like, the Axe looks kind of nutty. And maybe we're at the point where we have too many weapons, right? Because you have Sword Eaters, the Axe, the Ankar, the First Mates. But I like it. I like the look of them. I'm excited to try out some Pirate Warrior. Always nostalgia. It's one of the OG wild decks in the format, getting yet another facelift with some of the new cards. And because I couldn't really figure out what I wanted in this deck, right, there was also the 5-mana 4/5s. There was a bunch of new cards that could potentially fit into Pirate Warrior, and so chat gets the blame for this one. Twitch chat's fault. They were like, hey, why not just run a Reno Pirate Warrior? Haha. Little did they know that I was gonna just take them up on that and do it. And I'm kind of scared to say that it doesn't look terrible, which is really scary. Like, why? Why does this not look bad? I don't recommend you play this unless you just want to meme some peeps. I guess if Pirate Warrior becomes super popular, like the Pirate Warrior mirrors, like if you're playing the Reno list, I guess like you're probably going to be favored because you get Zeph. I mean, we're not running Reno in our list, but you could always run Reno in that list. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the density of just good cards that Pirate Warrior has to pick from. The fact that I can build a Reno Pirate Warrior and have it look like a pretty viable competitive deck, which is kind of crazy. All right, a little bit back to the more serious decks. So this one is Charge Warrior. So again, this deck has no new cards, but I wanted to highlight it here because it's effectively a new deck as a result of the unnerfs. Charge Warrior hasn't been a deck for 2 or 3 years. And instead of Worgen, we're playing Crab Rider because the Crab Rider itself is not terrible. We get the ETC and Animated Broomstick as an alternate win con in case the opponent's playing tons of taunts, like Q-Block's becoming super popular again. But yeah, the idea of the deck is to use the Risky Skipper draw engine with Battle Rage and draw through your deck and set up a Crab Rider, Inner Rage, double Shield of Honor, double Bloodstorm Mercenary, do billions of damage. I think you can do upwards of 56. And if you get double Bloodstorm Mercenary, you can do, I think it was in the 70s. I don't remember the specific number. But this deck's a ton of fun to play. It's very hard to play. But it's very rewarding to play. It's very, very satisfying. I highly recommend you guys check out Charge Warrior if you haven't done it before. Alright, then we have to revisit Galakron Warrior. So Galakron Warrior getting basically new cards in Scion of Ruin, but also getting the new cards, like legitimate new cards in Outrider's Axe and Rokara. And then of course the Bloodsail Deckhands. We don't really need the first mates anymore. It feels so weird cutting first mates, but you have so many weapons, right? With the ritual choppers, the axe, and the sword eaters, I felt kind of okay with cutting the N'Zoth's first mate for the deckhand that discounts your minions. And then, of course, you get birds and Scion and Barov, Rokari just giving things more buffs. And so, excited to see. Galakon Warrior always feels like just a little bit too fair. And giving the deck maybe more draw with the Outriders Axe might help solve that issue. Excited to try out new Galakon Warrior. And last but not least, we have to leave it off on a meme. Some Taunt Warrior, some hand buff Taunt Warrior. So Paladin gets hand buffs, and they get a bunch of rush. We're going to play hand buffs, but we're going to buff taunts, and we're just going to make a wall, and we're going to make our opponents cry, because they can't punch through the wall, and then we punch them in the face. I mean, with stuff like Morshan Elite, a new card from Forge in the Barrens, it really is incentivizing this kind of hand buff taunt deck. And we also get Serenite Chaingang back to kind of back up that game plan. Excited to try it out. We also get Bulk Up as a new buff card. It actually, again, these are these decks that just like, they seem like memes, and then you build them and just like, damn, this actually doesn't look terrible, and it actually looks competitive. And I've been playing some style of deck. I've been playing like a Pirate Hybrid Taunt Warrior in the past, and it was like sort of competitive, and this just looks 10 times better. So I actually have some pretty high hopes for this deck. It might actually be a legitimate deck. Excited to mess around with it in the brand new expansion. So that's going to wrap up my 51 wild theory crafted decks. I hope you enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure you guys hit that like button. And just a reminder that if you'd like to see any of these decks played and refined live, make sure you guys check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/getmeout. Be streaming a ton once the expansion goes live. And if you guys would like, up-to-date deck lists, refined, ready to go for ladder, make sure you guys join that Discord. The link is down in the description below. And of course, the highlights of the best decks and games make their way over here to YouTube, so make sure that you guys drop a subscription and hit that little notification bell so that you guys know when they go live. I hope you guys all enjoyed the Theory Crafted videos, and I hope you guys all enjoy the brand new expansion. I'll see you guys next time. Later.